Many years ago, I was reading through a Dungeons & Dragons book, and I came across this very interesting picture. It was presented in the book completely without context, but it perplexed me and made me very curious as to what story might be involved. We have this heroic-looking halfling with a red ruby of some sort, which seems to have a glow from it, and he's come across a Pegasus frozen in ice. I imagined that perhaps the crystal is a sort of thawing crystal, and he's trying to melt the ice around the Pegasus. But behind the halfling is this ominous figure, who I thought might be a dark elf or something. And I discussed with my brothers, what do you think happened next? And they said, the drow probably killed the halfling. But I had hope that if he could free the Pegasus in time, he might get out okay. What I had no idea is that this art was actually recycled from a book cover to an Endless Quest book. But after years and years of searching, I have finally found the answer. Here it is. Endless Quest Books Crimson Crystal Adventure Number 2, Search for the Pegasus by Roger E. Moore.
You are Halfling Thomas Blackfoot. You must rescue your dear friend Clarion the Pegasus from the Blue Hag's hideous torture. Resolved to end the evil witch's tyranny over your forest home, you call on the aid of your most trusted friends, Sir Robert, a noble warrior gnome, and Michael, the spirited but stout-hearted leprechaun. Though the three of you have an average height of only 3.5 feet, you make a determined band as you set out to defeat the Blue Hag. The others don't know it, but you have 2 secrets that will help you on your quest. Your secret thieving abilities, and the powers of a special Ruby of Seeing. This magical gem allows you to detect things that are invisible, locate hidden doors, decipher magical messages, and much more. But beware. Either your thieving talents, or the Ruby of Seeing, could reveal more information than you care to know.
The cover art was by Clyde Caldwell, it says. So, Clyde, if you're out there, it is entirely because of you that I have finally found this book. So, let's find out if the book is as fun as the cover is. Oh, wait a minute. It has a warning screen because of the Crimson Crystal thing. Lift the Crimson Crystal screen at the top of the page and see what happens. The magic crystal disappears. Replace the screen and the crystal reappears. As you follow your adventure through this book, you will come across sections marked with a diamond symbol. Use your red screen on the picture indicated to see what secrets are revealed. Wait, red screen? Was this supposed to come with something? Oh, so it turns out that the Crimson Crystal books are, I guess, supposed to come with some sort of red screen you use to see hidden pictures in the images. But this book was not easy for me to find, and so it seems I got one in poor shape that does not have the crystal. So now we're going to have to do some experimenting to see how to solve this problem. Okay, that took some work, but I finally have made my very own Crimson Crystal that I can use to decipher the images in this book. So, finally, let's dig into Search for the Pegasus and find out if the book is as good as its cover. The night your best friend is kidnapped begins quietly. A full moon rises through the stately trees outside your halfling burrow, and you're ready for a comfortable evening by the crackling fire with an old book. But no sooner do you settle into your chair to read than you hear a sudden frantic knocking at the front door. Dropping the book, you jump to your feet in fright. Could the old witch have found you at last? Summoning your courage, you pad to the door, moving silently in your bare feet. Halflings like you don't need shoes. Your feet are hairy and thickly soled. As a halfling, you have many other advantages too, even if you are only half as tall as everyone else. Well, size isn't everything. You're proof enough of that, with all the adventures you've had. But still you shiver and pull your house robe tightly around you, hoping the Blue Hag isn't at your door. Peering through the tiny peephole in your door, you see a fluttering, hovering shape in the moonlight outside. It might be a pixie, but you aren't sure. The Blue Hag can assume many shapes with her magic. Only one way to find out, you whisper to yourself. You reach into your pocket and pull out the Ruby of Seeing. You found this ruby in an ogre's cave a year ago. It's as long as your index finger and twice as wide, with many enchanted powers captured within it. By looking through the ruby, you can see invisible things, read magical writing, and detect illusions and magical disguises. Magical items glow when you see them through the gleaming red gemstone. Holding the ruby to the peephole, you look through it at the pixie. The red gem glows as its magic comes to life. If the pixie is the Blue Hag in disguise, the Ruby of Seeing will show her in her true shape. Use your Ruby of Seeing on page 7 to see what's really outside the door. Then continue reading. It's a little hard to see. But yes, it is just a pixie. Sighing with relief, you pocket the ruby and open the door. The cool night wind blows past you into your burrow home. Your visitor is a boy pixie, barely 2.5 feet tall. It's always nice to see someone a little bit shorter than you are. "Disaster and tragedy!" cries the pixie, too excited to stop flying and land. "Are you Thomas Blackfoot? They said he had black hair and dark eyes, and you do, so you must be him, or his brother, or his cousin, or—" "Yup, I'm Tom Blackfoot. What's the matter?" "Gracious and mercy!" the pixie yells shrilly. "Get dressed and follow me! Famine, flood, and bad news!" You try to catch the pixie and calm him down. Pixies are so hard to take seriously. "What's the trouble? Did someone eat another toadstool? I warned you about eating just anything that—" "No, no, no!" the pixie wails, flying out of reach. "Big, enormous, terrible disaster! Clarion, the winged horse, the beautiful Pegasus! She's been kidnapped!" For a moment, your heart stops beating. You gasp. Clarion, the Pegasus, is your best friend. With a sudden leap, you catch the pixie by one foot as he hovers, and you pull him close. Clarion was kidnapped? By whom? Crime and criminality, evil and mischief. The Blue Hag, the witch of the ever-dark caves. She's taken Clarion to her caverns beneath the earth. The pixie points toward the woods. Now the Blue Hag demands that everyone in the forest come to the meeting grounds. Bad tidings and doom are afoot. Alas! The pixie falls free and flies away into the woods. Dressing in a panic, you leave your cozy burrow to hurry off to the meeting grounds in the chill night air. The Blue Hag is a blue-skinned witch who uses evil magic to conquer the woodland and enslave those who live there. Some say she's older than the trees of the forest near where you live. She has long been a clever and dangerous foe. Her wickedness is fought endlessly by the good folk of the forest. One of the many who stand against her is the mysterious thief known as the Night Shadow. The Night Shadow never steals from good folks. Instead, he hunts down the hag's evil followers and chases them out of the woods. He's slain ogres and goblins and foiled the Blue Hag at every turn. No one knows who the Night Shadow really is. Except you. You are the Night Shadow. Everyone believes you're just Tom Blackfoot, a halfling who reads too much and never goes adventuring. No one knows the truth of how you fought the hag's followers or ruined her wicked plans. You don't want anyone to find out that you're the Night Shadow either. If anyone at all knew, soon the Blue Hag would know too, and she'd come looking for you. If no one knows, you're safe from her magic and monsters. For years, you've polished your skills as a thief. You can run without sound, hide like a shadow at night, climb any tree or wall, and pick any lock on any door. Your only tools are your silver knife, a lock-picking wire, your imagination, and the magical Ruby of Seeing. You hope they'll be enough to save Clarion.
Shivering both from anxiety and the cold, you approach the meeting grounds. Soon you see that satyrs, dryads, centaurs, elves, and other forest creatures are already there, gathered in a wide circle around the clearing. You quickly discover that you're much too short to see through the crowd, so you climb into the high branches of a nearby tree to get a better view. From your new perch, you see a tall, aged witch standing alone in the center of the clearing. You gasp and your skin turns cold as you recognize her. The Blue Hag. A magical staff is clenched in her bony blue hand. The light from a small fire falls on her silver and green robes. The hag brushes a strand of hair from her face with a clawed finger. In the wavering firelight, you see runes tattooed on her face and hands. The magical symbols seem to crawl over her blue skin like spiders.
Enough of you are here,
She says in a voice like a file rasping iron. Her pale eyes glitter like ice.
Listen carefully. I hate to repeat myself. I kidnapped one of your friends tonight. The Pegasus is alive at the moment, but she may not be by tomorrow morning.
The hag picks up a thick branch from the ground and crushes it with her bony fist. The wood splinters into 100 pieces.
I can break trees in half with little effort.
Killing a Pegasus would be easy. The witch grins with shark-like teeth.
Give me 1,000 pounds of gold before dawn tomorrow, and your precious Clarion will live.
Otherwise, I'll drop her body here in the morning. You can scarcely believe it. No one has that much gold. Even if everyone gave up all they had, it wouldn't be enough. Clarion is doomed. The Blue Hag scans the terrified faces of the crowd and nods in satisfaction.
Good. My message has gotten through. I'll come again before sunup to pick up my gold. I'd get busy if I were you.
Tapping her staff to the ground 3 times, the witch vanishes in a blast of fire and smoke. After a moment, a small figure walks out of the crowd to the spot where the Blue Hag stood. It's a gnome. He fans the smoke from the hag's fire away with his hands. You recognize him as a friend of yours, Sir Robert. He wears a chainmail suit over his purple shirt and red pants, belted with a bright silver buckle. A sword and a dagger are sheathed at his sides. This smoke stinks almost as much as the hag does, Sir Robert grumbles. He turns to the crowd gathered about the campfire. Our work is cut out for us, he says. We all know we don't have that much gold. We've got to rescue the Pegasus and show the Blue Hag who's boss in the forest. Who will go with me to find our Clarion? Eagerly, he looks around. You wait, holding your breath, but no one speaks. Well, Sir Robert bellows angrily. Come now, we haven't got all night. Clarion is the gentlest, wisest, and most beautiful creature in the forest. Her eyes shine with all the colors of the rainbow. You've shared your joys and sorrows with her, and she's shared hers with you. She's the best friend you've got. And no one is going to rescue her. I'll go, you call from the tree. You shinny down the trunk and hurry over to Sir Robert. I'll go to the Blue Hag's caves to rescue Clarion. Sir Robert looks pleased, but he shakes his head sadly. Tom, you're not really a seasoned adventurer. Yes, I know, but I've read a lot and I'm pretty quick on my feet. You could use me, and you know it. You hesitate to say more, afraid to reveal your secret identity. Sir Robert sighs. That I could. You win, then. He turns to the crowd, his waxed mustache quivering beneath his huge nose. Who else will help to rescue Clarion? An uncomfortable silence falls over the clearing. Many creatures look fearfully in the direction of the Blue Hag's caverns and edge away from you and the gnome. Cowards! Sir Robert roars heatedly. His face flushes red and his silver beard shakes with rage. You turn your backs on a friend and let her die? You see Sir Robert's arm. Stop it. You and I will rescue Clarion without them. We can only hope that I will arrive and save the day now? Comes a merry voice from behind you. You and Sir Robert spin around. Michael! You both shout. In the flesh, me lads, sings the red-haired leprechaun. Michael is dressed in a velvet purple coat and pants with a cap on his head and a small wizard staff in his hand. Michael is the only leprechaun you know who hates the color green. I'm late, I fear, Michael says. A smelly old satyr passed me tree and told me to come at once. But I was a wee bit slow getting dressed. Why such mournful faces? Clarion was kidnapped, says Sir Robert gravely. The Blue Hag took her to the Everdark Caves. Unless we give the witch a half-ton of gold by dawn tomorrow, she'll kill our friend. Michael's smile fades. Not me darling Clarion, who saved me from the goblins a year ago. You can't mean her, he whispers. You nod. It's true, Michael. Only Sir Robert and I are going after her. No one else will even try to help. No one? No, that's a falsehood, it is, Michael says. The Blue Hag has magical powers many times greater than mine, but you will not go to her caves alone.
Clarion the Pegasus is me dear friend, too, and I'll not abandon her. Sir Robert looks at Michael and you and nods in satisfaction. He turns to the crowd again. Remember this, he calls out. 3 go tonight into the Everdark Caves, but 4 shall return. He starts off toward the caverns with you and Michael behind him. The forest creatures, embarrassed at seeing 3 very short people set off on an important mission, cheer weakly, yay, and then hurry away. No one else will be coming with you. For several long minutes, the 3 of you forge through the trees in silence. You easily pass under low branches, though the thick undergrowth slows you down at times. I hope Clarion's okay, you mumble, as you pry a briar loose from your pant leg. Try not to think about it, Sir Robert advises. Let's keep our minds on finding her, no matter what. You're about to reply when Michael's staff taps you on the shoulder. Quiet, me lads. We're being followed as we walk, we are. My ears leave no doubt about it. Instantly you come to a halt. You listen and make out the sound of soft footfalls in the tangled forest behind you. I can see nothing in this darkness, Sir Robert whispers, slowly pulling his sword and dagger free. It could be a stag, or even a goblin, for all I know. You think quickly. If you use your skills at hiding and moving silently, you can creep back and find out who's trailing you. But your friends might be surprised and wonder if you're a thief, perhaps even the Night Shadow, if you aren't careful. You could also use the Ruby of Seeing to hunt for your trackers, but you don't want to reveal that ruby to your friends either. The hag would hunt twice as hard for you if she heard of the gem, but either your skills or the ruby could help you now. If you use your thieving skills to creep up silently on the creatures following you, turn to page 62. If you use the powers of the Ruby of Seeing, turn to page 134. If you would rather keep walking and not reveal your powers, turn to page 30. Alright, it sounds like a tough decision, but let us take a risk and reserve our skills for the moment. Besides, if trouble does happen, I'm sure that Robert or Michael can probably get us out of 1 or 2 scrapes. The best course is the cautious one, you decide. There's no sense in risking your secret identity or the ruby right now. Let's move on a bit, you say cautiously, eyeing the woods behind you. Maybe whoever it is back there following us will get tired and go elsewhere. Sir Robert and Michael consider this. Well, Sir Robert finally says, you have a point. It might only be a deer. He puts his sword away in its sheath. The 3 of you forge on ahead through the woods, hearing no more noises, until Michael catches you and Sir Robert by the arms. Wait, he whispers. No, I can hear something ahead of us.
You have good ears, leprechaun. A deep, wolfish voice growls from the darkness. Stop where you are, or we'll forget about taking you to the Blue Hag alive. Run for it, you shout, diving under a low bush. Something huge looms out of the foliage and jumps on top of you. Before you can react, a huge set of canine jaws clamps down on your shoulders. Dozens of sharp teeth press into your skin. If anyone else tries to run, the voice in the dark growls, the halfling becomes dinner. Now don't move. The jaws tighten, now on your chest, too. You can't breathe and you start to panic. A sword clatters to the ground. Don't hurt him. I surrender, Sir Robert cries. Let him go. Michael also calls out his surrender. The gigantic wolf, holding you in its mouth, slowly lowers you to the ground. You roll away, bruised and frightened. I hated letting you go, the wolf growls. You taste awfully good. They're wargs, giant wolves, Michael whispers as he helps you to your feet. We haven't a chance against them both. I'm glad you picked up on that, the hidden warg says roughly as it pushes its way through the undergrowth toward you. Come on, little ones, we're going to the hag. You don't bother to tell the warg that you were going to the Blue Hag's caves anyway. Maybe there's some hope left. You and your friends head through the dark forest until you enter some rocky hills. The giant wolves guide you to a small cave set in a hillside. There you are turned over to some armored goblins who march you, at spear point, into the Blue Hag's cave. Turn to page 52. Carrying a single torch, the goblins direct you through the ever-dark caves, pausing only to prod you or your friends with their spears. The goblins apparently know the caves quite well. All right, just stop right there, one of the goblins snarls, forcing you to halt in front of a wooden door set in the cave wall. There they take all of your weapons and Michael's magic staff, but fail, to your relief,
to find your ruby of seeing. The goblins then herd you through the door into a small, unlit cell. The cell is damp and musty and smells like an unused cellar. A goblin slams the cell door, leaving you in complete darkness. Your heart dropping, you hear a key turn in the lock on the door. "You best get some sleep before the hag gets up to see you," a goblin shouts outside. The other goblins laugh loud, and soon you hear them leave. "Fine thing," Michael mutters. You hear him brush himself off. "Those creatures have no respect at all for me powers or me good looks." Sir Robert sighs. "Thanks for trying to cheer us up, but we really haven't gotten off to a good start. Does anyone have any idea of what to do next?" After some discussion, all of you check for secret doors or any other ways of escaping. Even with your thieving skills, Michael's magic, and Sir Robert's knowledge of stonework, you find nothing. Putting your hand in your pocket, you feel safer knowing the ruby of seeing is still there. The goblins obviously haven't learned to search their prisoners carefully. They also missed your lock-picking wire, concealed in the hem of your trouser leg. You consider your dilemma. You could try to get out of the cell using your thieving skills, but are you ready to have your night shadow identity revealed? Then again, staying in the cell until the Blue Hag gets here could be a terrible mistake. There's a chance you could bargain with her for your lives, but would it work? If you decide to wait and not use your thieving skills, turn to page 64. If you think that escaping from the cell is more important than hiding your secret identity, turn to page 74. I think that we had better get out of here. Staying in the cell can only lead to one thing, meeting the hag and getting blasted by her spells. Pleased by the darkness, you reach down and pull the lock-picking wire out of the hem of your trouser leg. Your fingers carefully explore the cool wood of the cell door until you locate the keyhole. You poke the wire in the hole and probe the lock. "I was wondering if they really locked this door the right way," you say aloud, covering up the sound of the lock-picking wire as you twist it about in the lock. "What do you mean?" Michael asks. "Well, goblins are pretty stupid. Maybe they didn't turn the key all the lock clicks and the door opens." Hastily, you hide your lock-picking wire. "My gosh," you gasp, pretending to be shocked. "I just leaned on the door and it came open. That's incredible." "What? The door came open? But how?" "Oh, never mind," Sir Robert says in amazement. "Let's get out of here."
The three of you move rapidly but quietly down the corridor. Soon you hear shrill voices of goblins arguing somewhere ahead. Motioning your friends to stay back, you move up the corridor until you come to a corner. Looking down one of the tunnels at the intersection, you see two goblins sorting through the weapons they took from you. A torch burns on the cave wall above them. You wave Sir Robert and Michael up to the corner, and the three of you move in.
"Give me that!"
One of the goblins snarls. He snatches away your dagger.
"That blade is pure silver! I claim it!"
"You fat jackal-brained!" The second goblin's words are cut off as the first one backhands him across the face.
"Oof! Shut up, dog!"
The first goblin growls. "Don't you ever oof!" Sir Robert punches the goblin from behind, knocking him flat. The dagger skitters across the floor. The second goblin, recovering from the blow the first one gave him, looks up just as you and Michael knock him out. "Not bad. Not bad at all," Sir Robert puffs. "I didn't like having to hit him when he wasn't looking, though." "'Tis a pity you couldn't beg his pardon," Michael sighs with mock sorrow. "Let's be off now, before our playmates recover." You tie and gag the unconscious guards, then retrieve your weapons. Michael speaks a magical command, and the top of his staff glows with a soft light. With high hopes, you silently descend into the Everdark Caves to find Clarion. Please turn to page 115.
For several minutes, you and your friends travel without speaking through the Everdark Caves. Only the occasional clink of Sir Robert's chainmail breaks the silence. The light from Michael's staff shows a four-way intersection ahead. "Let's move up and see what's here," you whisper. Nothing can be seen coming down the other tunnels, but as you peer into the darkness from the center of the intersection, you hear a low, rhythmic sound from one corridor. You point in the direction of the sound. "Something's breathing," you say softly. "Something large," Michael adds. "I hear it too." Sir Robert pulls his sword and dagger from their sheaths. "Well," he whispers, "it would be wise to avoid it, unless—" The unseen creature grunts. A new sound echoes through the caves. Heavy footsteps, many of them at once, with a peculiar dragging sound. A long hiss rings out. Without discussion, you and your friends quickly hide in one of the tunnels. The hissing sound draws nearer. A creature steps into the semi-darkness of the intersection that you left behind. It appears to be a large, many-legged reptile. Brown scales gleam dully on its skin. The monster's eyes glow like green lamps. "It's a basilisk!" Sir Robert cries. "Run! If it catches your glance, its eyes will turn you to stone!" You hesitate for a moment. If it is a basilisk, you should either escape from it or kill it immediately, but it might just be an illusion or the hag in a magical disguise. The ruby could tell you that. If you run away from the basilisk, turn to page 87. If you use your ruby of seeing on the monster, turn to page 45. If you want to find a way to defeat the monster, turn to page 57. Well, I think using a ruby of seeing to see whether it's actually deadly or not seems like a really stupid idea. So I am going to run. You decide it isn't worth the risk to find out if the basilisk is real or not. If it's real, you could end up as lunch or as a little statue. If it's not, you've got other problems. "Let's go!" you shout, and you hurry off down the corridor. Sir Robert is the slowest of your group, but with a basilisk behind him, he runs quite quickly. The corridor twists and turns as you descend farther into the caves. Michael's staff lights the way, casting stark, rippling shadows across the walls and ceiling. "Hey!" Michael gasps, pointing ahead. "The tunnel ends in a door!" "Shh!" whisper back, slowing down. You cast a glance behind you. The basilisk is far behind you now. "Look for traps." Working carefully and quickly, the three of you search the end of the cave for traps, but find none. Your thieving skills and Sir Robert's knowledge of stonework fail to turn up any dangers. "Boy, my staff, that's good news," sighs Michael. "But I fear the Blue Hag leaves nothing unguarded in her domain." "You think the door might be trapped?" you ask. You wish you could use your ruby of seeing to search for hidden items, but your friends, not to mention the Blue Hag if she's around, would see the gem. "Either that or something big and unfriendly's behind it," Michael says softly, looking the door over. "The hag's a clever one, she is." "Well then," Sir Robert puffs, still tired from his run. Why don't one of you listen at the door and see if you can hear anything on the other side?" You and Michael stare at each other. You'd both forgotten about that. "Sure," you say. "I'll try." Michael nods and steps aside. Putting your ear to the door, you concentrate in complete silence. Through the door's aged wood, you hear something breathing. A low, rumbling snore rises and falls in the room beyond. You, Sir Robert, and Michael hold a whispered conference and come to three conclusions. You could leave, going back the way you came. Turn to page 10. You could use trickery to get the creature in the room to leave. Turn to page 81. Or you could charge into the room and attack whatever's there. Turn to page 90. Well, we can't really avoid everything, so I think we should try to trick it. My guess is that whatever's snoring on the other side of this door is a guard, you say thoughtfully. If we can lure him away, we'll find out what he's guarding, Michael finishes with a grin. You've a good head for trickery, Tom. After a short conference, the three of you hide in the rocks and stalagmites near the doorway. Michael says a word, and the light from his staff goes out like a candle. Absolute blackness covers everything. "Ready?" Michael whispers. "Watch closely, and say nothing when I cast the illusion. Be prepared to see yourselves afresh, me friends." Michael softly whispers. "Phantoms out of dream and mind, duplicate us for a time." A light appears at the far end of the tunnel. In that light, three small figures form and become detailed and lifelike. Though you were expecting it, it still gives you an odd feeling to see images of yourself, Michael, and Sir Robert at the far end of the cave. At a signal from Michael, you and Sir Robert shout aloud. "Hey, there's a door," you call out loudly. "Let's bash it down." "I'll kick it flat and take on all the guards behind it myself," Sir Robert calls. "It won't take me but a moment." For a few seconds, nothing happens. But as you're about to call out again, the door bursts apart, split down its middle by the roaring monster coming through it. In the light from the distant illusion, you see a huge beast with long arms and legs scramble over the ruined door and dash up the tunnel at the intruders. You stop breathing and your hair stands on end. It's a troll, one of the most terrible beasts there is. Only fire will kill it, and you have no fire at all. The illusion vanishes. The troll howls in the darkness of the cave and continues running in the direction it thinks the intruders escaped. When all is quiet, Michael speaks a word and his staff begins to glow again. "We're lucky it didn't see us," he says, white-faced and shaken. "Let's get out of here before it comes back." You head for the smashed door. Aside from the many bones and piles of stinking garbage in the room where the troll was, the only item of interest is a door in the far wall. You see faint lettering upon it, but the words are too worn to read. Michael and Sir Robert leave for a moment to see if the troll is returning. While they're gone, you pull out your Ruby of Seeing and look at the door through it. Please turn to page 143.
You put away the ruby. It's a good thing you didn't just walk right up to the door. "Tom?" Sir Robert whispers, coming back in the room with Michael. "I'm over here," you whisper back. "Don't step on that spot right in front of the door. There's a trap there." "A trap?" Sir Robert asks, amazed. "What trap? How did you find it?"
Drat. You forgot that they don't know you have the ruby. I meant there might be a trap there. We better check. Sir Robert kneels down and feels the spot carefully with his fingertips. "Well, you're right," he says, getting to his feet. "There's a pit trap set in the floor here, but we can step around it." "I guess we were just lucky," you say. Sir Robert looks at you oddly, as if he doesn't quite believe you. "I guess we were," he says at last. "Let's go on before the troll returns." When you listen at the door, you hear no sounds from the other side. Summoning your courage, you push the door open and step through. Michael and Sir Robert follow behind you. Please turn to page 29. Michael's staff lights a huge, cluttered room. You see a half-dozen heavy wooden tables littered with glassware and unfamiliar implements. Thick tomes and cracked parchments lie about everywhere. A disgusting odor hangs over the room as well. You make a face, but go on inside. "We found the Blue Hag's laboratory," Michael whispers. "Don't touch anything." "No need to worry about that," Sir Robert says, eyeing with distaste the materials piled on one table. The three of you explore the room. Strange shadows made by the staff's light crawl across the wall. The smell from the chemicals and magical herbs makes you queasy. You're wondering how much longer you'll be able to stand the odor when Michael douses the light on his staff. "Hide quickly! Someone's coming!" he whispers sharply, ducking behind a table leg. You and Sir Robert hastily do the same, taking cover just as the door creaks open. A hoarse, cracked voice hums an ancient tune. Soft footsteps shuffle into the room and the door closes. Suddenly, many small candles on the work tables burst into flame. You peek around the table leg. The visitor is the Blue Hag herself. Turn to page 133.
The hag wanders over to a stool near you and leans her staff against the edge of a table. It comes to rest only inches from your hand. She putters with some flasks. Making sure that your friends can't see you, you pull out the Ruby of Seeing and look at the hag through the gem. Is she really the hag? What magic items does she have? Some of the potions and items on the desk around the Blue Hag are magical, which explains why they glow when seen through the ruby. The hag isn't disguised and seems to have nothing hidden on her. The staff radiated lots of magic. You wonder if you can steal it without her knowing it. A witch without her staff would not be very powerful. But then again, any staff that powerful might also have a magical curse on it. The ruby can't tell if a curse exists, it can only detect the presence of magic. If you decide to take the Blue Hag's magic staff, turn to page 119. If you'd rather just look for Clarion, turn to page 66.
Well, I really want to find out what the story is behind this image, so let's just look for Clarion instead. It's true that stealing the Blue Hag's staff would certainly weaken her, but you didn't come here after her staff. You came here to get Clarion. Besides, it would only take one slip to alert the hag, and then... Silently, you signal to your friends to wait quietly while the witch works. Sir Robert and Michael nod, their eyes wide and their faces pale and drawn. For hours, the witch tinkers with her mystic chemicals and unfamiliar liquids. The air stinks with the scent of rotting and burned materials, and the hag's mumbled thoughts almost lull you to sleep. When you are sure you can stand to wait no longer, the Blue Hag pushes back her stool and stands. Seizing her staff, she utters a cackling laugh to herself and leaves the room. The door bangs behind her. For several minutes, you don't dare speak or move for fear the witch will return. When you realize she isn't coming back, you let out your breath in a deep sigh. That was the longest wait I've ever had, Sir Robert groans in exhaustion. I thought she'd seen us several times, you say. Sometimes I think we're luckier than we deserve. Faith, don't be saying things like that, Michael chides you, making his magical staff glow with light again. We deserve every grain of luck we get. As Sir Robert mops rivers of sweat from his face with a pocket handkerchief, you and Michael check the door the hag left by. There's certainly no sound of anyone out there. I don't think she's there anymore, you say at last, stepping away from the door. And that's where we have to go. Michael listens at the door in turn as well. You spoke true, good Thomas, the leprechaun says. He straightens up and looks the door over. Well, says Robert, are we ready? You've been scanning the door for traps, using your thief's knowledge of such things. I suppose so, you tell him. The hag has no traps here. It looks safe to enter. Oh, Sir Robert asks gruffly. Have you read a lot about traps? Yes, I have. Caught off guard, you improvise quickly. I've always been fascinated by traps and things like that. It's sort of a hobby. I guess you could call it a hobbit's hobby. A strange hobby, Michael says, eyeing you curiously, but he just shrugs. Sir Robert reaches up and gently turns the door handle. It creaks open, revealing a darkened room beyond. Here we go, you whisper, as you and your friends enter the darkness. You hope your quest is near its end. Please turn to page 130. Michael speaks a word of magic as he enters the chamber. The tip of his staff shines brightly on the room's contents. You see huge jars, chests, draperies, and... Clarion! You cry in horror. In the center of the large, cold room stands a beautiful white Pegasus, poised on her hind legs with her white feathery wings outstretched. Her wide eyes sparkle with 1,000 colors. But the Pegasus is still as a statue. She is covered with a layer of ice an inch thick. For a long time, no one speaks. Slowly, you walk up to the frozen Pegasus and touch the ice covering her with your hand. Clarion, you whisper, what has the hag done to you? No answer comes. You drop your hand and step back to look her over. To your surprise, you see runes written on the ice at Clarion's feet. The runes look magical. Carefully, you reach into your pocket and pull out the ruby. It no longer seems important to keep the ruby a secret, but you shake off your misery. The ruby of seeing will translate the runes. You turn and shield the gem with your hands. Raising the ruby to your eye, you read the runes written on the unmelting ice. The runes say, this creature sleeps in a seal of frost until your deepest secret is lost. This creature sleeps in a seal of frost until your deepest secret's lost. Okay. The ruby's glow fades as you lower it and hide it again. The message of the runes rings in your mind. Come to pay your last respects, eh? Cackles a rasping voice from behind you. You jump back from the Pegasus, pulling your dagger out as you turn. A tall, aged figure wearing flowing robes of green and silver steps from a doorway in the far wall. Magical runes crawl slowly over the blue skin on her face and hands as she approaches. The hag's eyes shine like tiny fires. Skeletal, thin hands grip her gnarled staff. She stops beside Clarion. The poor dear is still alive, the hag whispers, caressing the ice on Clarion's cheek with a long, clawed finger. There is self-satisfaction in the hag's voice. But of course she knows nothing of what's going on around her. She'll stay frozen until I say otherwise. Set her free, Michael shouts, raising his staff threateningly. The hag grins, her thin lips peeling back from her pointed teeth. Never. I took her and she belongs to me, to torment or destroy as I please.
and since I have received no payment of gold, the Pegasus's fate is sealed.
The Blue Hag points her staff in your direction.
You did well to make it this far, runts. But no one will disturb me again once I drop your bodies beside that of your friend here tomorrow morning. I don't like to be subtle.
She walks toward you with a slow, measured pace.
Any last words?
She asks coldly, raising her staff. You have only seconds to act. You feel the ruby and dagger in your hands and remember the runes written in the ice. Well, our only hope is if we can free the Pegasus, so I have to give up my deepest secret. And the options are either try to use the ruby to bribe the Blue Hag to let you go, or give up your deepest secret, or fight the Blue Hag. Okay, I'm going to try and give up my deepest secret and hope that that will set Clarion free and she can save the day. Until your deepest secret's lost, the rune said, something clicks in your mind. You step forward, hoping you've chosen correctly. Before you start throwing spells around, you tell the hag, I think you should know something. The Blue Hag stops and stares at you coldly.
Indeed?
She says impatiently.
Then speak quickly.
You shrug, casually hiding your fear. You won't be happy to know this, but I'm not what I seem. I'm the thief who's been kicking all of your goblins out of the woods these past few years. The hag's eyes narrow.
Indeed, the thief who slew my ogres and stole the goblins' weapons. The thief who chased away the harpies, destroyed my traps, and
scared your wargs, and took back the gold you stole from the elves. I did it. I am the Night Shadow. You feel weak, but hope burns inside you. Your deepest secret is out now. Will it work? Sir Robert and Michael stare at you with open mouths, speechless with surprise.
What? The Night Shadow?
The Blue Hag screams.
You dare tell me that?
She steps closer, amazement and rage written all over her blue-skinned face. You notice something happening behind the hag. The ice on the Pegasus is melting. Sure, you shout at the hag, keeping her attention. Some witch you are. I had to walk right into your cave before you could catch me, you old crone. What a joke! The runes crawling over the Blue Hag's skin burn white as if heated in a dwarven blast furnace. The witch raises a hand and points a bony finger at you.
No one will ever suffer as you are about to suffer, halfling. You deserve an agonizing death, and by my staff and word, you will have it. Die, you wretched little...
With a sound of shattering glass, Clarion kicks free of her icy shell. Startled, the Blue Hag turns to face her. Clarion sees the witch and rears back in terror. In a blur of motion, the Pegasus kicks out, knocking the Blue Hag to the floor. Everyone attacks the witch instantly. Sir Robert gets to her first and hacks at her staff with his sword, chopping it into useless splinters of wood. Michael casts a spell with his own staff, his face pale with fear. The Blue Hag tries to get to her feet, eyes blazing like ice aflame. Then she stumbles and falls again with a shriek. Her feet are ensnarled by Michael's spell. Clarion dances back from the hag. Tom, Michael, Sir Robert, she cries, her voice ringing like wind chimes in a spring breeze. Where are we? How did we get here? We're in the Blue Hag's caves, you shout. You were captured and we came to get you out.
But you won't take her alive,
the hag cries, struggling to her feet. Her clawed fingers reach up for Clarion's silk-white throat. No! You scream. Snatching a piece of the hag's broken staff from the floor, you strike her across the back of her head with it. The wood splits apart in your hands. The Blue Hag collapses unconscious on the floor. With a loud cry, Sir Robert raises his sword to finish her off. The blade descends and bounces off the witch's rune-covered skin. Don't waste your strength, lad, Michael says, catching Sir Robert's arm. No weapon can cut the hag's hide. We'll have to find some other way.
Clarion regards the witch with anxiety. If we can't kill her, can we send her away somewhere where she'll never come back to find us again? Well spoken, Michael says, his eyes bright. I can use me powers to open a magical gateway to another world, one from which she'll never escape. Michael orders everyone to stand back as he begins his last enchantment. He waves his staff over the hag and calls out the words of his spell. From world to world, from star to star, I send the hag to lands afar with all her monsters and her hate. Please open once and no more, gate. You watch the hag as Michael finishes his spell. A strange feeling comes over you, as if you were an unreal thing and everything you're watching were unreal too. A curtain of shimmering light and darkness comes out of the air and closes over the blue hag as she lies on the floor. The curtain envelops her like a shroud. Goodbye, blue hag, Michael whispers solemnly. Goodbye forever. The curtain of magical light grows thick, and you lose sight of the hag. Moments later, the magic light fades. The light from Michael's staff shows the room is empty, except for a gnome warrior, a leprechaun mage, a halfling thief, and a Pegasus with many colored eyes. You leave the ever-dark caves as the sun is rising. The eastern sky is the color of a rose petal. The air is cool and clear. Clarion crouches down, and the three of you climb on her back, clutching her silky mane and each other. So, you're the Night Shadow, Michael says, smiling at you. I wondered if there wasn't something special about you. Don't tell anyone, you say quickly. The hag's gone, but there are still evil creatures roaming in the forest. I'll need to get rid of them when we get back, and having a secret identity helps. I'll never tell a soul, and you can have my help if you want it, Sir Robert says. I'm sorry I doubted you, Tom. When you asked to go along, I didn't know you were... You laugh. Forget it, Sir Robert. Your offer of help is accepted. We'll go after the wargs and goblins left in the woods together. Michael, would you care to help me friends out? I'm shocked, I am, that you'd even ask. Clarion turns her head with a mock glare. And what about me? Her musical voice fills the morning air. I'll not have goblins in my forest. I'll help too. Then let's go home and rest. We'll need our strength in the days to come, you tell her. She nods, then leaps forward into a gallop. Her mighty wings surge and clap the air. Clarion leaps from the earth. You see the hills fall away below you as she climbs into the air. A crisp wind blows against your face and whips your hair and clothes. As you head for the forest in the morning light, you casually feel your pocket. The ruby of seeing is still there. You secretly smile. At least you have one secret left. The end. Wow. I managed to get a perfect ending on my very first time reading this book. And I even managed to find the moment that's depicted on the cover which inspired me to seek out this book. Well, I guess it just goes to show that sometimes you can judge a book by its cover.